Hello everyone, thank you for joining me for another episode of Antonio's Movie Reviews. Today I have the 1989 movie Sea of Love starring Al Pacino, John Goodman, and Ellen Barkin. The film was directed by Harold Becker. I, for one, am definitely surprised that I had not seen this Pacino gem until I viewed it for this review. This mystery thriller definitely hooked me, with the beginning with an interesting murder scene and kept me interested with enjoyable dialogue and superb acting. Pacino stars as Frank, a somewhat unsettled detective who is tracking down a serial killer who finds victims using personal ads in a magazine and leaves Sea of Love playing at the murder scene. I thought this was a very enjoyable movie, especially with the cast not really being the usual suspects for an erotic thriller. Could be considered a cop noir with a Hitchcock sort of feel to it, complete with a nice jazzy soundtrack and very dark cinematography. Pacino had apparently taken a brief hiatus in the 1980s after 1985's Revolution proved to be a failure.
Is this okay? Is this okay?
All right, Keith, having breakfast. Go ahead. Go on in, young man. Looking good, gentlemen.
You don't recognize me?
Shortstop.
You.
Good news. Good news.
Yo, fuck that. Give up the bad news, homeboy.
Career criminals investigation. You are all under arrest.
Sea of Love is the comeback movie for Pacino, and I think he did alright. The suspense generated throughout this film is definitely quality, and for me wasn't very predictable. I understand that a lot of folks who may not enjoy this film feel that it was predictable due to its somewhat generic storyline and foreseeable plot, but I thought this movie had a fantastic twist. Ellen Barkin, who stars as Helen in this film, told the AV Club in 2015 that everything about Sea of Love was just wrong, and if not for Pacino as her savior, she didn't think that she could have done it. I personally enjoy any movie Barkin is in. She just has that scene-stealing quality to her that a lot of actresses don't have, in my opinion. The erotic thriller industry would still be a viable option for an actress of her caliber and beauty for many years, but she didn't choose to take her career down that path. I think that was one great decision for Ellen Barkin. She was absolutely stunning in this film. John Goodman has to be one of my absolute favorite actors also. At this point, Frank only has 3 clues.
Truth, I think it boils down to grabbing the strange trim he got hooked up with. I mean, this guy's, I know, records. 45s. Nobody whips out their old 45s.
Here, I think. What's that? Cable time, cable tone. But he was down in the basement.
In the bud.
You get it?
At first, I was a bit worried about seeing John Goodman's name because this channel certainly doesn't review elements of comedy, but I loved his role in this film as Sherman. Pacino added so much depth to the role that this is going to be one of those movies that almost seems better than it should be. It almost makes you think of the movie as a love story when you think of the entire Lonely Hearts aspect of the film. The way Becker portrays Pacino in this film as some sort of empathetic, burned out detective makes you sort of happy to see him genuinely enjoying Barkin's character Helen, and that lends a lot of credibility to the film in my opinion.
Frank Keller? I'm Sherman Touhey from the 112.
Forest Hills?
Yeah, B2 out on Yellowstone Boulevard.
No shit.
Yeah, the bullet we can't do nothing with. It got pan.
Pacino has actually tried his hand at earlier sexual subcultures. For instance, the 1980 film Cruising, which you may find a bit of similarity in Sea of Love when comparing the two films in my opinion. Sea of Love is more of a buddy sort of film with Becker and screenwriter Richard Price essentially trying to keep us at the edge of our seats, more so than keeping us saddened with the loneliness of this film. One of the dislikes I have about this movie is honestly how slowly it moves, but it's building up to a great twist, I must admit.
Lifetime of June's old rock tunes.
Who the hell are you?
I don't know why I'm crying. I never even got to meet.
Frank, the lieutenant said I could go through the jacket on your case.
Put an ad in the singles magazine, right? You told me that, right?
New York Weekly.
Bingo to that.
The film honestly has a lot of scenes where not much dialogue takes place at all. I believe that the film would have been a lot better if it didn't try to fit into every genre. It's like it wants to be a neo-noir, then an erotic thriller, and then sometimes a romance film.
We put in our own ad.
Say what?
We set up dates with 30, 40, 50 of the ladies who answer. We,
Horseshit, but I love it.
You know how many guys put ads in that magazine last month that rhymed?
Aside from the film trying to be everything at once though, it honestly has few shortcomings in my opinion. Frank and Sherman are about to have a breakthrough on the case.
Ripping me asunder. The city is a jungle of pain, but my lonely heart's here.
Major.
I love my family.
Hey, Raymond, no kid, we don't give a shit.
Other two, bag the wine glasses. It's all over. What? Come on.
He fucked up.
Personally, I feel like when a film contains a sort of dramatic twist at the end, it's usually after a long drawn-out story. Nevertheless, Sea of Love indeed keeps you invested throughout the film, and it doesn't feel like there is much fluff in the movie at all, honestly.
I need another's touch and smile. She liked that.
It's a good poem.
I really like
that.
That one is not for me. I'm the wrong guy.
You shut
I'm
up.
telling you, I'm the wrong guy.
Sorry, Frank.
Frank gets an idea to place a rhyming ad in the paper, meet women who respond in a restaurant, and take the prints from their drinking glasses. I thought this was a very entertaining part of the film, especially with Pacino dating several women that end up unhappy in the end, and Goodman posing as his waiter. I thought those two had great chemistry in this film, which is why I called it a buddy movie earlier. This part of the film is where we meet Helen, played by Barkin. She easily steals the show, and the movie sort of leads us to believe that she may be our femme fatale. I don't know how I could have ever worried about Goodman. I can't think of a bad performance he's had in any of his movies.
I got a dick.
Well,
Think you could go for a babe with a dick?
you go with what?
You just not my type.
Hey, you haven't even touched your glass. Why don't you just have a little sip, you know? Warm up. Let's have a happy hunting toast.
It's nothing personal.
Oh, come on. Where you going?
I'm making my best effort not to spoil anything in regard to this movie because it really was well made in my opinion. To see it for the first time definitely keeps you guessing until the absolute end of the movie. Becker was great in directing this film and all of the characters made it work. Personally, I feel like I've always enjoyed Pacino as a detective.
Hell on wheels, huh? How quickly we forget. I still want to go have that happy hunting toast?
Pacino feels no different in this than if you were watching Righteous Kill in my opinion, except in this movie, he honestly looks a lot more tired. It's sort of difficult for me to categorize this film as a pure erotic thriller because there is definitely a lot more romance, mystery, and suspense than nudity. The movie bounces between funny and suspenseful very flawlessly, I would say. The second act is definitely a lot more fast-paced.
Oh!
What is it? This ain't real.
Open it!
I can't apologize enough for that. I don't know. I got this.
When Frank decides not to take Helen's fingerprints, that adds a lot of suspense to the film also because the movie leads the viewer to of course suspect that she may be the shooter. This part of the movie added a lot of intensity because in my mind, I was thinking Fatal Attraction or if this movie could possibly end badly for Pacino. At this point in the film, I found myself hoping for a happy ending for him in terms of finding love because he portrays this sort of down and out character who we saw still calls his ex-wife when he's drunk at 3 a.m. Believe it or not, there's actually even a horror element to this film that snuck its way in. This was one of my favorite aspects of the movie, honestly. It was also late in the movie.
So, what did you want to talk to me about?
Yo, lady. Yeah, you, I was in here, what? Come on, now, what's your problem? Tommy, let's blow. Where's a cop?
Okay, what?
You're a cop?
Yeah.
For me at least, this movie doesn't feel like it's 30 years old. It has to be something to do with the way Pacino acted in this movie. It's the same way he acts in every movie he's been in my opinion. Very tense and seemingly troubled emotionally in some way.
Is your daughter asleep? You think you can get somebody to watch it for a while?
The dialogue within the movie didn't feel very dated either, but there is definitely a nostalgia to the way the film was shot. It's very dark and gritty throughout the entire movie, and that adds greatly to the suspense. I guess this was supposed to be one of the sexually charged scenes that got this movie labeled as an erotic thriller. Honestly, I'm glad this movie isn't full of outlandish eroticism. It just didn't need that. Oftentimes I realize the plot is sacrificed for the sake of showcasing two good-looking actors. For instance, the movie Blown Away featuring Nicole Eggert and Corey Haim. One thing about Sea of Love is that this cast really acted. They also did a good job at not being predictable, I would say. That must be hard for an actor. In a sense, one might almost relate to the way Pacino could be feeling in this moment. He has fallen for the prime suspect basically in a murder case that he is investigating.
Hold it, wait, you're a police officer?
Did you get fired?
This is Gina.
You see this guy? This guy's in love.
Every scene of this film has some meaning to it, I would say. Helen Barkin is a much better actress than I think she has been given credit for. This was Al Pacino's first movie in 4 years, and I feel this was a testament to his acting prowess to formulate a sort of comeback.
The singles magazine. I don't know yet. I mean, go out with guys like that. I'd never do that.
The part about the wire. You want to run that by me again?
Helen Barkin also states that although this movie was not her best work, it did make her a household name, according to a 2011 interview with Huffington Post. Goodman and Barkin had previously appeared together in the 1986 movie The Big Easy. One thing I will say is that Helen never struck me as someone who was guilty. It felt more likely to be Pacino himself at this point. It seemed he was the one giving off negative energy in all scenes he was in.
I thought you were going to a hotel.
No, it didn't work out.
What's he doing here?
Rubbing my leg under the table. Then you threw me the keys. I told you not to throw me the keys.
This had to have been one of the most suspenseful scenes within the entire movie. It almost seems as if the red leather jacket was supposed to be some sort of symbol of Helen's guilt, but there was no evidence of that throughout the film. When she begins to play the song after which this movie is named on the record player, you know Frank is going to go hysterical. Classic.
Did you bring the fake one, huh? Forgot the real one?
You're crazy.
Huh?
I suppose that one thing I can agree with in terms of this movie being predictable is the way Frank was going to act. I myself certainly wasn't prepared for this part though. Some people disagreed with the way this movie ended, but I honestly thought it was fitting. It was certainly a very gripping, edge-of-your-seat movie in my opinion. It's an underrated film at the very least, and I had never heard of it until recently. The film made me miss John Goodman, whom I haven't seen in quite some time. The story in this film is very well constructed, I would say. Aside from the setting, I would also say that it's aged very well. It didn't feel 30 years old at all. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was over-the-top erotic, but it was indeed a sexy film. It deserves a place on the list of 80s neo-noirs, surely. Thank you for joining me for my movie review of Sea of Love, a 1989 film starring Al Pacino, Helen Barkin, and John Goodman. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.